We are seeing this international reaction come in from many different parts of the world right now. For more on this, let's bring in Mehmet Celik, who is the editorial coordinator of Daily Sabah. Mehmet, as I said, still many questions remain unanswered about the situation in Venezuela. And one thing that I'm also struggling with understanding is why Donald Trump did this. Is it because of the so-called oil that Donald Trump claims Venezuela has stolen from the United States? Is it because of the domestic political situation in Venezuela right now? Is it because of some hawkish members that are part of the U.S. administration right now? Which one do you think is it?
Well, I think, Jafar, it's a combination of all the excuses that you just listed above, being some of the far-right hawkish members, or the U.S. energy-related interests. The fact that the United States right now sees the international order in a transition and wants to secure its position in this resettling of the international order. So there isn't, of course, one single I use the term excuse to bomb Venezuela, but there is a combination of several factors, as we just mentioned them. But I think the main thing that we need to highlight is that regardless of all these reasoning, the fact that a country is able to go and bomb another country, violating international law and sovereignty and territorial integrity of another country, the fact that they are able to do that is, in the very simple terms, it's a very rigid show of power, regardless of what the reasons behind this motivation. So there is, of course, the motivations, the interest-related push factors for the United States to go and carry out this attack. But on the other hand, the implication of this issue is the fact that they are able to use this scenario as a show of power at a time where the international order is trying to arrange itself and still trying to find its own dynamics. I mean, this is a message given to the rest of the world. At the same time, it is an operation or basically an attack on Venezuela.
Mehmet, I'm going to interject there very quickly because I just want to bring in this statement that has just come in from Marco Rubio. He, in fact, posted this on his Twitter account, X account, and I'm going to quote Marco Rubio here. He says, "Maduro is not the president of Venezuela, and his regime is not the legitimate government. Maduro is the head of the cartel, a narco-terror organization which has taken possession of a country, and he's under indictment for pushing drugs into the United States." So, I mean, in terms of the thing that we were just debating here, what possibly influenced President Donald Trump and his administration to launch this strike on Venezuela? Based on Secretary of State Marco Rubio's statements, it seems to me it's the drug cartel thing that the U.S. administration had been talking about. At least this is what they're saying publicly.
Of course, this is what they're saying publicly, but there is one way to deal with narcotics, and then there's another way to label this activity as a state terrorism, basically. I mean, there's a big difference between the two. When you label a state authority as a terrorist activity, then you're able to carry out a war against that country and attack their capital, remove their president. Legitimacy of Maduro is one thing, but it is another, that can be discussed, that can be argued. At the end, the Venezuelans will have to decide on that. But it's another thing to go ahead and violate international law and bomb another country, basically bomb their capital and remove their, someone that's the country has called a president. So there's I think two different levels of discussions here. Nevertheless, the United States has said that they are carrying out these attacks against, these narco cartels, etc. But we, in between the lines, we know, and I think those who can actually see beyond this rhetoric can see that there is a lot to do with energy policies. There's a lot to do with U.S. trying to instill its power across the Latin American continent or South America without anyone to be challenging that U.S. aim for the continent.
Mehmet, do you expect a response from Venezuela? Because, see, one thing that remains uncertain right now is whether or not the vice president is going to be backed by the military of Venezuela and whether or not they're going to decide some sort of action against the United States. What's the likelihood that we might see some response from Venezuela?
I think it's too early to see how those dynamics will unfold, because at the time of these situations like this, those who are, be it vice presidents or other high-ranking officials, which sides they will basically move towards, that is something that, it's hard to predict, to be honest, regardless of their past. At a time like this, where there's basically you're being invaded by a country or you're on the brink of being invaded, figures can change sides. So it's hard. For me, it's a little difficult to predict that.
That's Mehmet Celik, live for us from Istanbul. Mehmet Celik, fascinating insights as always. Thank you very much for joining me here on TRT World.